Krista, we have Dr. Khalil Khalidy with us here.
Hello, Dr. Khalil, marhaba.
Hi, Rista. Marhaba,
So good to have you with us today. We're really
the pleasure
honored
and
to be
honor
able to speak
is
with
all
you.
mine. It's all mine.
كيفكم؟ إن شاء الله خير.
Inshallah khair. As we say, we try. We try where we can. But alhamdulillah, thank be God. Alhamdulillah. Thank all the thanks is all to God and praise to God for what we have.
Yeah.
My sister is visiting this weekend from Chicago, and I was just explaining to her the concept of alhamdulillah and how you can answer alhamdulillah whether things are going well or not going well. That is, it's such a fuller answer than like if in English you say how are you, fine, like empty words, right? So yeah. I was just explaining that concept to her. So
but it's even like rooted in other religions, even the Abrahamic religions, in Christianity and Judaism as well.
Mm-hmm.
Thank to God, or thanking God for everything, and believing that God has the best for us, even if we don't see it right now, but it's the best on the long run. Yeah. So that concept is more Abrahamic rather than specific Islamic.
Yeah.
But alhamdulillah.
Well, for me, it's just if you're speaking Arabic, it's like part of the language.
Yeah,
so
part of the slang.
Not specific to
part
anything.
of the lingo.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, Krista, do you want to do your thing and welcome some of the people that are joining?
Yeah, sure. Well, we have a few of you already on in the wings. Or I always want to use that theater expression when you're in the where the curtains are, but is it called wings? Okay, I always know there's a saying, but then I don't remember.
Yeah,
I don't remember what it is.
يعني بالعربي قاب قوسين أو أقرب
أو أدنى. أدنى.
Well, we are certainly honored to have people joining us today for the Madafeh at the Palestine Museum US. We will get started just probably 5 minutes past the hour. We're going to give people a chance to get onto Zoom, but we already have our honored guest with us, Dr. Khalil Khalidy. And so if you are already tuned in, just say hello in the chat. Let us know where you're tuned in from. One of the things we really appreciate is how our audience are really all over the world, on every continent, every time zone. Yesterday, we had someone tuning in from Australia at 2 a.m. So we really do appreciate you joining us for our weekend programming on Saturdays, the films, and Sunday, the Madafeh conversations. So feel free to say hello in the chat. Let us know where you're tuning in from.
I think
I'm a programming volunteer.
Some people probably did not believe that we're going to have Dr. Khalil from Gaza live.
Well, it is these days. It's hard to know. Like with between the internet and the extensive bombing campaign, you really don't know what you can count on these days.
This is going to be our best Madafeh.
Actually, like I was not certain, and I was talking to people like. Yeah, there's the link. You can join us, but I'm not sure if I will be there, if there will be a blackout, if I will be summoned to the hospital.
Exactly.
It's uncertain, but alhamdulillah, we made it. We made it, alhamdulillah.
Yeah, this is going to
we're so happy to have you.
I'm going to use Trump's hand gesture. It's going to be our best Madafeh.
The best Madafeh ever.
The best Madafeh.
See, he has something to contribute to the programming for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, there is Fayaz to start us off from Toronto, Canada. Welcome to you. Ahlan wa sahlan. I'm tuning in from Madison, Wisconsin. This is Ho-Chunk country, land of the Four Lakes, known as Dejop in Ho-Chunk language. So that's where I'm tuning in from. And of course, Faisal is there at the Palestine Museum
and we are
Woodbridge,
tuning
Connecticut.
From Woodbridge, Connecticut, the land of the Quinnipiac Nation.
The land of the Quinnipiac. So he's been traveling a lot lately, so he's back in his home turf there. And behind him, I always like to point out that painting on your left, if you look at the painting, is
Now, when I talk, you can see it. See, right behind me, behind my right shoulder, which is this side. And this painting is by Faiz al-Hassani, who was from Khan Yunis. He was actually injured during the bombings, but somehow he managed to make it to his daughter's place in Australia, where he's receiving further treatment. Yeah, he was.
And that painting,
he was badly.
That painting
injured.
is from 2012, believe it or not. It's called Farewell, and it really speaks to the incredible loss that families are experiencing in Gaza. You see a mother mourning the loss of her child, and as we know, there are thousands of mothers, tens of thousands of mothers mourning their children. It's just really powerful, full of emotion and expression, and just incredible colors there. So that's Faiz al-Hassani. So there's a few more of you saying hello. We have Lynn Siegel from Boulder, Colorado. Welcome to you. And there's Alejandro Alex joining us from Birmingham in the UK, but he's originally from Spain. We have Bill joining us from Atlanta, Georgia, and Eugene is tuning in from New York City. Mads is joining us from Norway, but on a speaking tour in Chicago. Let us know what you're speaking about, Mads. That'd be wonderful to know. You can put that in the chat.
One of my biggest role model. Hi, and welcome. He's Dr. Mads Gilbert, one of the most dedicated and devoted advocates for the Palestinian cause for a long, long time.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing those details with us. And yes, it's wonderful to have friends and family. Many friends are like family. They're the family that we choose. We don't choose our family, but we can choose our friends who become family. So there's a saying in Arabic. You probably know it. I quoted in my memoir, Crossing Borders, about how the people who you spend 40 days with become family. I forget the exact thing in Arabic, but maybe you guys know what I'm talking about. See, there you go. Yeah, I write about that in my book, but of course it's not off the top of my head that I can remember it. We also have Bill joining us from Atlanta and Eugene from the Big Apple, New York City. I think I already welcomed you. Orestes from Greece says best health to all. And there's Pia joining us from Zurich, Switzerland. Herzlich willkommen, Pia. And there's Kerstin joining us from Järna, Sweden. Welcome back. I think you were with us yesterday. Thank you so much for joining us. And we have Catherine joining us from Cleveland, Ohio, on the ancestral lands of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabeg peoples who dwell in spaces throughout the Great Lakes region. Of course, the Great Lakes has historically been home to a number of indigenous nations in the United States, many of which were driven out of their homes into Wisconsin, where I live. We now have 11 indigenous nations in our state. We have Gretchen joining us from Maryland. So if you're just tuning in, we'll get started probably in a good 5 minutes or so with today's Madafeh. This is part of our regular programming at the Palestine Museum US, where we seek to deepen our understanding of Palestine through the arts. So thank you for taking time out of your weekend to be with us this weekend. We have our honored guest with us already, Dr. Khalil Khalidy, and we'll get started soon here. But there's Maggie joining us again from Exeter, UK. As some of our guests like to say, home of Madafeh, where his adopted home, after leaving his country where he is no longer welcome due to his incredible admirable support for the Palestinian people. So
I wonder who the indigenous people of the UK are and what happened to them.
Yeah, well, you know, they're like in France, there are a lot of everything got suppressed and swallowed by the powers, the the French royalty in France, and like in Spain, you have it's there certainly are people there. Here, like Lynn is talking about the Celtic in the UK there. Let's see. So Mad says he's on a speaking tour on Gaza in the US, fundraising for Palestinian Student Scholarship Fund. And he wants to pay his respects and admiration to his brother Khalil, who is with us today, one of the bravest colleagues in the world. Wow. Yeah, I think we have huge admiration for the doctors who are serving in Gaza. I think who would have ever thought, that you have to serve so many patients with such horrendous and horrific wounds and injuries, and operating under circumstances that are really beyond comprehension and reprehensible, given that all of we have access to everything in this day and age, and yet Palestinians are deprived, of course, of having access to the medicines and materials that they need in order to survive this current onslaught. So we have Tina joining us from Canada. Welcome to you. And Maggie says, here in Exeter, we were invaded by the Romans, then the Danes, then William the Conqueror. So a lot of history there of conquering lands and subjugating peoples. I know the Irish have a horrific history of similar invasion and subjugation. Best wishes from Palestinian History Tapestry. And of course, now the Palestine Museum is in official partnership with this project. And it's really just an incredible partnership. If you tap on that link, you can look at some of those really outstanding tapestries that tell the story of Palestine through tapestry. They are on that website. So if you click that link, you'll be able to take a look at some of that.
There are over 100 pieces in the tapestry. They all were embroidered by Palestinian women in refugee camps, and a lot of them are from Gaza. A lot of these works that you see were made in Gaza by women in the camps, and also women in the refugee camps in Lebanon and in the West Bank and in Jordan and in the Naqab as well. So Ian, welcome on board here. Good to see you again.
And there's Noor says, Assalamu alaikum.
Dr. Noor and
Dr. Khalil
joined us. We're in a mission who came
wonderful
and helped us here in Gaza, and the most kind-hearted and very genuinely nice people. They were compassionate, and they kept in touch, checking on us and having communication with us.
Wonderful.
Even after they left long ago, 4 or 5 months ago. So welcome, Dr. Noor and Dr. Hannah.
Well, it's that kind of support from around the world that is not only drawing attention to what's happening, keeping Gaza and Palestine front and center, but also saving lives as best as you all can and under the circumstances.
Krista, I turned the recording on. Is it showing us recording here? Yeah, looks like it's on.
Oh, yes, it is. Yeah, I was just going to say no, but yeah, it is when I hover over it.
Let's get the show on the road again here.
Sure.
Thank you, Krista, for the opening here. And I'm Faisal Salah, the founder and executive director of the Palestine Museum US, located in Woodbridge, Connecticut, in the US. We are extremely honored today and awed by the presence of Dr. Khalil Khalidy. And we salute all the doctors and all the medical staffs in Gaza and everyone else who is standing strong with Sumud against the genocide and the horrible people who are persecuting this war against our people in Gaza.
Thank you so much.
To begin with, Dr. Khalil, could you just tell us very briefly in a couple of minutes a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are?
where I got to where I am. A long story short. Well, I am Dr. Khalil Khalidy, 30 years old, practicing orthopedic surgeon at Aqsa Hospital in Deir al-Balah, Middle District. Been practicing for 5 years, and we have witnessed 4 wars so far. This being the most brutal and the most challenging, let's say. I was born in Yemen. My parents were born in Kuwait. So I am, as we have spoken before, I am a nazih, which means that we were forcefully kicked out of our homeland after the Nakba in 1948 to live abroad. And my father was born there and we were denied the right to return. We got
That was Jerusalem, you said? You were from Jerusalem originally?
Yeah, original.
Your family, yeah.
And we were denied the right to return. We got back to Gaza, which is the closest place to our homeland, considered being Palestine, in 2010. And I've been living here ever since. I graduated from the Islamic University of Gaza in 2017. And I started...
Of course, now has been destroyed with all the other universities.
Yeah, all the universities are so far been wiped out of existence, along with most of their records and their training centers and most of their facilities. Yes, unfortunately.
I did interviews back in 2000 of all the universities across Palestine at the time. And yeah, it's just heartbreaking that all these institutions have been completely obliterated.
True. Having lived since 2010 here in Gaza, it wasn't the best, and it kept getting tighter and tighter and more difficult and difficult to live here. But people here are the most resilient and most innovative, and they have a high desire to live. So they were bringing things into life out of nothing, and they were managing with what was available at the time. It wasn't the best life as most media portrayed, or as most media says as it was. Yes, they were at peace, or yes, they were sometimes some escalations would happen every now and then, but they had the freedom, they had the resources, they had the facilities. No, they didn't. And after the 7th, things got even flipped upside down into a brutal concentration camp situation, and it's still spiraling down and down and down, and we hope for things to become better someday. So that's a brief story of where it started and how it's going.
So, Dr. Khalil, tell us what is the most unbelievable thing that you've been through. What are the worst conditions that you've experienced during the last 11 months or so? And when you think back about all the stuff that happened, a lot of our people, of course, seen things on TV and social media, but give us, like, what was it feel like to be inside there, inside the beast, like they say?
Well, when it comes to our experience, as they say, we are still experiencing the trauma. We haven't fully processed it yet. It's hard to go back at things. It's hard to recall things very properly. That's why I try to capture with my phone and my diary from time to time the things that struck me, or the things that I want to reflect upon, or the things that I want to contemplate upon after I get the chance to. And it's still hard because it's a continuous stress disorder rather than a PTSD situation. The trauma is still going, the threat is still on and present, very clearly present, and you are still on a flight or fright situation. So the most thing that struck me, or the most thing that hits me, are what I've done with. I've spoke about it briefly in one of my paintings, the unknown children, in which you have some children or some people brought to the hospital dying on the cold floor of the hospital alone, without you even knowing who they are or how they got here or what's their story, or what who is there with them, are they alone or not. You have no idea about it, because when it comes like to situation like carpet bombings, during a bombing, it's hard to explain, but trying to, it's when they consecutively or bomb throw a large number of bombs on a straight line on a residential block or a street or a neighborhood, and the whole neighborhood will be wiped away from existence. And because a lot of people that are in that area are not actually residing in that area, they're not homeowners of that area. Some of them are displaced from endangered places that are said that are safe zones to flee into. Some of them are seeking refuge, some of them are seeking shelter. So when a large number of injuries come, you will see a flood of cases, 300, 400 cases coming to the hospital all at once. And a lot of them, because it's a mass casualty situation, you have these codes green, red, blue. And when you have that code blue, there are people who could be saved or have the potential to be saved, but require a lot of medical attention and a lot of time, that you prioritize saving others rather than them, and you leave them to die. And sadly, it happens with a lot of the children, because children cannot bear that huge impact of a trauma. One of them was Child 991 that I made a painting about. He took his last breath in my arms, and he was one of 37 of them. We couldn't even get the blood sample to the lab to investigate or record anything, except that he was given a number at random. And these numbers are not given in a way that you could record or register them to be found later on. They are put on random just to have them input on the system of a lab, or for an X-ray investigation, or to put them in a system to get into surgery. And he unfortunately passed away, and he was left in the morgue for 3 days. Nobody claimed him. Nobody came. Most of his family was wiped out. So that in particular, because that in particular struck me, and I still think about it from time to time. And I don't think I will never forget what goes on with 911 and the likes of him. Unfortunately, things got worse and worse, to the point that you don't retrieve bodies anymore. There are pieces of flesh, human flesh, that you weigh, estimating the body weight of someone who's missing. Like, you will have this pile of human flesh, part of pieces of humans, hands, brains, intestine, faces sometime, and there comes someone and be like, I'm missing my child, and we'll ask them what's their age, and they're like 10. So we'll estimate their weight as 15 kilograms. So we weigh 15 kilograms of human flesh, and we give them in a plastic bag. That's how things got into right now. So yes, that's something that I still haven't got by, and I still haven't processed yet, and I'm still haunted by. Like, what would happen if that happened to me, for example? Would I ever be retrieved? Would I ever have a grave? That idea itself is something that haunts you forever, and I don't think any of us will recover from it.
Dr. Khalil, are there any estimates? By the way, I have two visitors at the museum sitting with me.
Welcome.
They're,
Welcome.
they're from California.
Welcome.
Dr. Khalil, are there any estimates as to how many children there are who are totally unknown in terms of, their parents? And like you said, the only thing that exists for them is some sort of a randomly assigned serial number or a postal address where they were found or something like that. Do we have any idea how many?
Just the serial number that we give right on the spot, and I have posted some videos of how we post it. Like, we will explicitly talk with the nurse. The nurse will be, for example, writing on the plaster that fixes in the cannula after she retrieves their blood or their samples, and she will be like, nobody knows his name, what we should do, and we will like, give him 111, give him 1234, just like this. And regards to the estimated number, here's the thing: none of the unknown people, whether they are children, women, or men, are registered as not casualties, as
the Department of Health numbers of dead.
Yeah. So they are not registered whatsoever because it intervenes with the creditability of statistics so far, not even in the Ministry of Health. So the number is way, way bigger than that's officially been announced.
So how did you get the number 911? How did you decide on that number? Or was it you that decided on it? Looks like we may have lost him. Looks like the connection is frozen. Dr. Khalil? Okay, let's see. Maybe he will reconnect. Guess we were so lucky to have this much time. But hopefully...
Faisal, there's the individual who was one of the authors of the Lancet report who... of course, is being detained now by the Israelis for reporting on what he considers the actual number of the death toll in Gaza, which is approaching 200,000, not 41,000, as is officially reported by the health ministry. And you can see that he was taken detained by the Israeli authorities and remains in their custody without any word of his condition.
Yeah.
For reporting on the truth. And
Krista, I was wondering if maybe we can ask somebody from the audience if they can chat with us.
Oh, sure. Yeah, if you'd like to come on and be part of the conversation.
Is it Dr. Mads? Is he with us? The one who's in Chicago?
And we have Dr. Noor and Dr. Mads. Yeah, if either of you would like to come on and report on your experience.
Yeah, raise your hands and by clicking on the hand in the bottom of the screen, and I can bring you to on the panel here if you don't mind. So we have Noor Amin, and just accept the invite to join. Okay. And also Laura Heinrich is, let me do one at a time, so just bear with me.
Hello, Dr. Noor. Good to have you with us.
Yeah,
it's good to be here. I was just outside and I thought I'd join in from outdoors.
Yeah, it's wonderful. That's what Faisal did yesterday, where he was tuning in from his deck out back.
So maybe, if you can continue the conversation with us based on experiences that you might have, and tell us what your experience, were you in Gaza and when you were there?
I was there in about 2 months ago. I returned at the beginning of May 2024. I'm a physician from Canada, and I went there with the World Health Organization. When we were entering, we had thousands and thousands of, or at least hundreds and hundreds of trucks. I have video of it, that with supplies that weren't able to enter, which was sad to see. And when I was in Gaza, you know, like when you're in the emergency department, it's full of chaos. People are brought in donkey carts. They're brought in carried by people. Some of them are brought in in blankets. And you open up the blanket and they're just put on the floor, and you don't know what you're going to see on the inside of the blanket. And sometimes you open up and it's someone with a missing body part. I don't want to be too traumatic for the audience here. I don't want to trigger anybody, but it's really quite horrific. The smell of blood, I can't get it out of my head. The smell of burnt flesh of children that you don't know who their family is, or sometimes they're the only surviving member, or you're just seeing them take their last breath. You had patients where multiple limbs were blown off, and you could potentially save their life with amputations, and these would be done with little or no anesthetic. And the screams from the pain.
I'm wondering if the Israelis are the one who cut the internet connection.
Not surprised.
Just the trauma that they go through, or you have to witness, is horrible. We come from a privileged place to be able to go and to come, and the one thing that they would ask for is to share their stories. So I'm so glad that you're doing this and to share their stories with the world. The children were beautiful. They would be outside playing in the rubble despite what was going on around them. Many of them barefoot, many of them with scraped, infected feet, but they would just be playing, running around. I remember this one child, her name was Batul, outside of Aqsa Hospital. She made a kite out of garbage bags and was running around trying to get this little kite to fly. And I thought that was really poetic. Despite this kite never getting off the ground, they never stopped and they never gave up hope. And so if they don't give up hope, we don't have the right to give up hope. I'll leave that there. Let others speak, and I'll remain here if anyone has any questions or if I can add in any way. Thank you for all what you guys are doing. Thank you for having me.
Dr. Noor, I wonder if you could just mention about how many children now have been orphaned by this. We showed a film yesterday called The Orphan about a Holocaust survivor who was orphaned during the Holocaust because his parents were taken to Auschwitz, and he all he can think about are all these children in Gaza who are now left without families. Of course, many of us are familiar with the term wounded child, no surviving family. I wonder if you could just talk about all these children and how families are managing under these circumstances.
Yeah, WCNSF. They have different acronyms: a wounded child, no surviving family, and you hear these things, and it's incredible because that's an acronym because it happens so commonly, which is astounding. The number of orphan children, I don't know, but I remember going outside at the hospital around midnight after being in the operating room, and just to get some air from outside, even though outside is not much better than inside. Inside just smells like blood. So you need to go outside to get a different air. And you have little children that come out that literally are probably 5, 6, 7 years old. And they come up to you. Sometimes if you have a candy or a little treat, you can give it to them. And you chit chat with them, and they're so beautiful and pleasant. And then you realize it's like, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, maybe you should go to bed. And I was so ignorant. And I said, hey, so why don't you go to bed now? And they said, go where? And it was 11, 12 o'clock at night. And there's little children, not higher than my waist, maybe 5 years old, maybe 6 years old. They have nowhere to go. They're just orphans. And the other patients in the hospital or people around there, they just kind of take care of them in whatever way they can. Just kind of their guardian. They have no place to go. we saw little children going into the bathroom, getting water out of the toilet to drink because there's no water. And many of them get diarrheal illnesses. 100% of the children that I saw had diarrheal illnesses. Hepatitis A, and now, as I'm sure you all know, polio. And in addition to that, the malnutrition that we saw was astounding. We measure the mid-upper arm circumference. This is a metric that the World Health Organization asked us to measure when we were there. The mid-upper arm circumference of a child's arm. And if it's less than 110 millimeters, that person is malnourished. You know, you may have heard others talk about this, how you don't even need a tape measure. You can just put your finger around their arm and they are all malnourished. Like, all these children under 5 that we saw, malnourished. And who knows how many of them are orphaned.
And of course, you're talking about their physical state, but what about their mental state? These are kids who know about global politics and subjugation at the age of 4, 5, and 6, like you said. I wonder if you could talk about that aspect.
Yeah, you know, these little children, they're incredible because they're little kids, and I have nephews that are young and around that age. But these children, they come to you and they talk to you about death. They talk to you about how their family is gone, and it's like they've lost their childhood. These they have seen so much death and destruction that I can't imagine what kind of a childhood that is. They don't have anywhere to go and play, yet they still go and play. Yet they have this adultness to them about talking about what's going on around them. There's a little child, his name is Nico. He's about 10 years old. He dresses up in scrubs and walks around and volunteers at the hospital, move patients around. You know, he's 10 years old. You know, he's in the morgue. He's helping wounded patients. It's beautiful. It's an amazing thing, but this is not a childhood. This is not things as an adult. And I've trained in emergency departments in Canada and America where I've seen trauma, Baltimore, New York City. I've seen gunshot wounds, stab wounds, burn victims. Even what I saw when I went to Gaza is haunting. And for little children of 10 years of age to see these types of things and to be witnessing this type of trauma, it's so sad.
Unimaginable. Tell us what it's like to even get into Gaza to volunteer as a doctor. You went through the World Health Organization. So what are the channels? How do people volunteer like you to be there on the ground and help in this horrific healthcare experiment?
Yeah, it was quite challenging. I had sent my passport and my CV and all my stuff to like dozens of channels. Anyone who goes has to go ultimately through the WHO, but the WHO partners with different organizations. And so I didn't have any notice that I was actually going to go until about 48 hours before. And when I went through I got out right when the Rafah border closed. Mm-hmm. So I got out, and I believe like the following next 1 or 2 days is when the Rafah border closed. And so going there I went through Cairo. We had to arrange our own transportation. And then essentially the WHO indicated to us that if anything were to happen, they can't do anything to get you out. And when I was there, we had bombing around us all day, all night. The drones were above us 24/7. The vibrations from the bombs shake your body. And I was just, first of all, I was scared, but then I was kind of shocked that everyone around me was still calm. I guess they had just gotten used to this. And we would have to duck down and run away from the windows because sometimes there would be gunfire nearby. Just a few weeks before I got there at Aqsa Hospital, there was a bombing of the tents just outside of the hospital. And I believe just a few days ago, it also happened. One of my colleagues, Dr. Salman, is there right now. And he reported to me of a and he went and looked at the crater in the ground and the tents where innocent people are just staying. I did not treat fighters. I saw 80% of what I saw were women and children. And the men that I saw, they were not fighters. At least they not appear to be fighters. If they're fighters, then I'm a WWF wrestler.
I didn't mean to laugh, but yeah.
Women, children, elderly, and many of them have been displaced multiple times. When I was there, I went with the UN to Aqsa Hospital, which had been the site of they had gone into the hospital and had killed folks. And outside of the hospital is where they found when I went to the hospital, you could just smell the death. Because as you alluded to in the Lancet article, there's a lot of unknown death that's happened. Sure. But under the rubble, there's bodies, and you can just smell the smell of decomposing bodies as you go through. And as we traveled, it took us over an hour, which should have only taken 15 minutes because you have to go through all this rubble to get to your destination. And you can just smell the decomposing bodies. And then when it rains, these infected bodies, the bacteria and the parasites from them gets into the water. So there's no real clean water available. And I went 30 hours one day without any water. And I'm a VIP there. It's just a very, very difficult situation. There needs to be a ceasefire. There needs to be an arms embargo. And there needs to be channels opened up for aid to enter through the UN without barrier.
Dr. Noor, thank you so much. We have another doctor with us, Dr. Sayed. You want to unmute yourself, please?
Yes, hello, how are you?
Hi. Tell us a little bit about
hello, Dr. Hina.
What you're involved and where you're from and etc.
Right. So I'm based in Maryland, USA, and I'm an internal medicine physician. And I was in Gaza in April. I was there from April 1st to April 10th. I went with the organization Humanity Auxilium. And, I just have to piggyback on what Dr. Noor has said. What I witnessed there was something I've never seen before, the devastation. He especially talks about the 24/7 zone, just buzzing over your head, the bombs. And initially, it does strike you. You do get scared because it sounds so close and the earth shakes under you. But the locals actually educated us about that. They were like, as long as you can hear the bombs, that means you're safe because the bombs are far away. The bomb that comes for you, you don't hear it. It just hits you. So as long as you hear it, you're fine. So we got used to that buzzing sound of the drone over our heads all the time. At night, I felt they knew exactly when to start bombing. They would start bombing us like around 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and would just keep going on nonstop until like 11 o'clock in the morning. And that is when most people sleep. So we just barely had any sleep. And then we had to go to the ER in the morning to see the patients. One thing I do want to say, I've texted Dr. Khalil Khalidy, and he has not gotten the text. He hasn't received it. So I just hope he's okay. I pray.
I think they lost power, probably. Most likely either lost power or the internet was cut.
Or internet connection, yeah. We're lucky we could speak with him at all. I mean, really,
Yeah.
He's one of the bravest souls. So again, what Dr. Noor had said, all I saw was men, women, and children, a total chaos in the ER, just absolutely chaos. There was not a single inch of space in the hospital that did not either just have displaced people or just patients and their families. We were treating patients everywhere. We were treating patients on the floors. They would be bleeding on the floors. They would be dying on the floors, basically. And we barely had any medical equipment. And this is back in April when things were still better. The Rafah crossing was still open. So we were able to bring in supplies. There was still some food available, but now since May 7th, that the Rafah border has been just completely closed. Dr. Khalil and other doctors have told me how difficult things are. They don't even have surgical gowns. amongst other things. There are barely any IV fluids, and nutrition for patients. So it's worse if that was even possible. And the doctors who were operating, like just a couple, just like last month, they were operating with flies in the room, in the OR.
Oh my God.
It was.
Well, we have somebody talking.
What's that?
Whose microphone? Somebody's microphone is. Hold on a second. This doesn't make sense. Nobody's supposed to have. Please continue on. I'll worry about this. So. Nobody has microphone.
I'm wondering if you can hear. If I go on mute, tell me if that solves the problem.
Okay, go ahead. Yep, the problem solved. There's somebody in your house talking.
It's my son. He's very loud. I'll go. He takes after his CD, who you could hear from the next village. I'll be right back.
Sorry, you can go ahead, Dina. Doctor.
Yeah. So, like not an inch of space in the hospital that did not have any displaced people or patients. Flies in the operating room. When they just lost power, they didn't have any fuel going in the hospital. Mostly saw men, women, and children. Diarrhea, hepatitis, rashes started coming in rampant. And there were like patients. I'm an internal medicine physician, so I'm used to treating chronic diseases like diabetes and heart disease and kidney disease. Patients, because they had been without medication for months at an end. These were the patients who could potentially be saved, but they just came in with strokes and heart attacks because they had been without the medicines for so long, and there was nothing we could do for them. There was no heparin. There was absolutely nothing. So patients who potentially could have been saved from a heart attack, we had nothing to treat them, and they would just die there. So it was just something that sticks with you. And again, I was only there for 10 days. And the trauma that I carried back, I still get haunted when there's a loud, like a plane over my head. It takes me back to the drones. But I was only there for 10 days and I was able to get out. I cannot even imagine how these people have been living there day after day with the sounds of the bombs and the drones and the dead bodies. And yes, Dr. Noor, I remember the smell. I can never forget the smell that I smelled in the hospital.
Doctor, could you tell us where you're from in Palestine originally, just so we get to know you?
No, I'm not. I was born in Pakistan, and I've been in the States for about like 28, 30 years. And I've always had the affinity for Palestine. So I was able to go to the West Bank a couple of times. And there, and I realized how brutal the occupation is, because it's in your face and you could see it there. And I never in my wildest dreams I had thought I would ever be able to make it to Gaza. But an opportunity did pop up in March, and I could not say no to it. So I've seen both sides, and whatever happened in Gaza and what's happening in the West Bank.
Well, we certainly have to confer upon you an honorary citizenship of Palestine.
Yeah, really, we so appreciate your bravery, your commitment to your profession, your ability to show up for people who are experiencing what no person on earth should be experiencing. And the shock is that it's not ending. It's only getting worse. And we hear from the Israeli leadership where they would like to take this situation, and it's not to resolve it, only to make it worse.
By the way, the museum is collaborating with some people on putting an exhibit in November in Karachi, an art exhibit of the Palestine Museum, U.S. And there's a historic building that's being restored in Karachi, and we will be part of a big exhibit there.
That's excellent. That's where I'm from. I was born in Karachi, so I would love to know more information about that, so I could pass it on.
Yeah, I will share it with you. We're working on it, and it's going to open around like the 15th, 16th of November. Anyway, thank you so much. And Dr. Mads Gilbert is with us now. If you can unmute yourself and you can talk. Go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum,
Welcome,
everyone.
Dr. Mads. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone, from Chicago, US. It's very moving to listen to the conversation. I'm sorry we lost my brother Khalil. I've been working with Khalil for 6 years in Gaza. He is not only a very brilliant surgeon, extremely innovative and capable of finding solutions to the most difficult problems in the technical field of orthopedic surgery. And his bravery is beyond anything I know, because he not only tends to Aqsa Hospital patients, but his family is living close by the hospital and being constantly threatened by the bombing. He made a makeshift home hospital in his home for some of his injured family members in November, before they were forcefully displaced to the southern parts of Gaza, to Khan Yunis. Then they came back again, and he is an extremely brave human being, in addition to being, as we know, a very powerful artist. And he's also been working with me on a number of training projects for medical students. I'm an anesthesiologist and an emergency doctor, and I'm a professor at the Arctic University of Norway, and I train medical students in mass casualty and resuscitation. And in order to do that in a realistic way, we make sceneries where the students have to handle real situation with mock-up patients. And to make these simulations, Khalil has been working with me for many years to do the mock-up. And he makes the most fantastic make-up to pretend injuries. They're so realistic that when I show videos to my colleagues in Norway, they don't believe that it is not a real explosive injury or an open fracture or a burn. So he is extremely talented in so many ways, and most of all, like most of the Palestinians in Gaza, he is a patriot. He is a dedicated part of the popular resistance, and I think that we need to understand that the medical services in Gaza is a very important part of the popular resistance against the occupation. I've been working in Gaza since 1989. And for the last 20 years, I've been going there 2-3 times a year. And I've been working there during the Israeli attacks in 2006, 2009, 2012, and 2014. So I've been mainly working in Aqsa Hospital. But what my colleagues have been describing previously now in this discussion, I can only concur and sign on to that. It is beyond imagination what kind of brutality the Israeli occupation forces are willing to use against the Palestinian people. And you heard the numbers, 80%, 90% civilians, mostly children and women, because the demography of Gaza, the 2.2 million people, the mean age in Gaza is barely 18 years. So half of the population are children. And when you carpet bomb or terror bomb an extremely densely populated area like Gaza is, it's 360 square kilometers. It's only nothing. It has the highest population density in the world. It is similar to Hong Kong and Singapore. And when you bomb there with no way to escape, because in other armed conflicts, you see for the first 2-3 days, you see large civilian casualties. And then you see these well-known television images of the civilians flying on a bicycle, on a donkey cart, on a car, on a pickup, with grandmothers sitting on top of the mattresses and the cooking utensils and all that. In Gaza, there is no way to escape because they are incarcerated. They are actually fenced in. by the Israeli occupiers for the last 17 years. There has been a brutal siege on Gaza. And when I listen to the descriptions now, I cannot but remind you that this has been going on for, you could say 75 years, or for Gaza, you could say at least 17 years, with repetitious, brutal bombings of a population who are denied the most basic elements of life: water, food, power, electricity, medical supplies, schools. Everything is being destroyed by the Israeli occupation army. And it did not start on the 7th of October. It's been going on. And for the last 17 years during the siege, it has been met with complete silence from the US government, of course, from the Canadian government, from the European governments, from my government. Israel has been allowed to slowly kill, starve, thirst, torture the Palestinian people with almost no sanctions put upon them. And this Israeli impunity is what led us to where we are today. Because the colonial settler project of Israel, this has nothing to do, of course, as you all know, with defending Israel. It has nothing to do with the security of Israel. This is a systematic, ongoing settler colonial project where they will land grab, kill the people, and destroy the culture and the language and the history of the Palestinian people. Classical colonial politics, the politics of elimination and the politics of the epistemicide. I don't know if you know the term epistemicide. It's quite new. It means the eradication of the knowledge of a people. It means that the occupiers, the colonizers will bomb your schools, your universities, your archives, your archaeological sites. They will obliterate your language, your culture, and all the healthcare and social institutions that you have, kindergartens, and so on. And that's what we're seeing in Gaza. It's not a military fight between two armies. It is an occupier trying to eliminate the people and the culture of that people. And that's why Khalil is also so important, because he's also an artist. He is an artist of the Arab culture, of the Islamic culture. He is a fighter for healthcare, and he is a patriot for Palestine. So I think for you who are in the field of art, and of course the Palestine tapestry is also an important testimony to the culture of Palestine, to the history of Palestine. And my concern is that we get in a way blinded now by two things: by the bloodshed and the horror and the human misery, which has been described vividly by my two colleagues, which of course we need to tend to and be engaged by and protest against and try to raise awareness about. But we become also numbered by the numbers, because the numbers are almost incomprehensible. But we need to take a step back and understand that these are deliberate, systematic policies by the state of Israel, supported by not only US, it's been supported by Canada, by Australia, by New Zealand, all these old settler colonial societies. I'm sitting here watching out of my window in the hotel in Chicago. I see nothing but concrete parking lots and highways. I don't see a single sign of the indigenous people who were bestolen of their land, who got killed, and all their bisons and everything, their language, their culture, their everything got killed. I didn't have anybody in the airplane when I landed from Norway saying that, welcome to the indigenous country of the American Indians, whatever we call them. This is the end point of a settler colonial society. And the reason why all these countries, US, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, and the European countries, support Israel or back off from criticism of Israel, is that they are all either settler colonial societies themselves with white supremacy, or they have a long, bad, horrible story of being colonizers, like Belgium, like France, like Portugal, like Germany, all of them. So in a way, we need in the conversation about what's going on in Gaza, we need not only to focus on the suffering and the misery. I am sick and tired of portraying the Palestinian people being portrayed as a begging or a weak people. They are the strongest people I know of. I've been working with them since 1981 when I was in Beirut first time. I know of no more strong, dedicated, and friendly people. And I'm not romanticizing them. But the fact that they are able today to withstand the Israeli army with full support from the US military capacities after almost a year of occupational brutality on Gaza, it's by itself almost a miracle. And only a consolidated, brave, and coherent people could manage that. Because at the end of the day, they all know that they have two alternatives. It is to resist, or it is to be extinguished as a people. And nobody wants to be extinguished as a people. And as a doctor, I am not trained to treat symptoms. I am trained to look for, to find, and to eradicate root causes, be it of pain or jaundice or whatever. We have to find the root cause, and the root cause of what we're seeing in Gaza and in the West Bank is the occupation of Palestine. It's the apartheid system, it's the racism of the Zionist system, and it is the settler colonial project. Until that is solved and stopped, there will be no stable life or position or healthcare or schooling or whatever for the Palestinian people. Don't forget, they have bombed 12 universities. Half of the hospitals, half of the 34 hospitals in Gaza is out of function. The water pipe system, the sewage cleaning system, the food provision system, everything, the policing system, everything is being systematically attacked and destroyed by the Israelis. So they are perpetrating actually 3 war crimes at the same time. Number 1, collective punishment, which is illegal. Anyone Palestinian in Gaza is a target. Number 2, the genocide, of course, which ICJ is working to find out whether or not, but they've already given Israel 2 very stark warnings to stop the bombing and to allow for free flow of humanitarian help. And the last is, of course, the displacement of the people, the ethnic cleansing, making living conditions in the West Bank and in Gaza so unbearable that they force the people to leave so they can take the land like they did in 48 and say, okay, there is nobody here, so we take it, after the terror attacks that took place also in 48. So to end my insert here, I think we need to stop only talking about the misery and the human suffering. We need to see the bravery and the greatness of the Palestinian people in all aspects: culture, music, poetry, healthcare, schooling, and the resistance. Because until we support that, and until the majority of the world's people support that, it will not end. And it might end like a parking lot. Gaza might end like an Israeli parking lot, like some of the fascist government members had expressed. So this is a crossroad for humanity.
Dr. Mads, you're traveling around the U.S. right now talking about all these things. I wonder if you could talk about, clearly education is a huge piece of making change on the ground. All of the things that you're sharing, a lot of people honestly don't know the full context of what we're dealing with in Palestine. So I wonder if you could just talk about your experience of sharing these details with wider audiences and who your audiences are and what success you're having with changing people's hearts and minds to really transform policy at the end of the day, which is what is needed to save lives.
And also, you're going to be in the New York Northeast area by any chance?
Yeah. I decided after the Operation Cast Lead, which was the Israeli code name for the attack in 2009, when I worked in Gaza, in Shifa, I wrote a book about that, which is called Ice in Gaza. It's also in English. I decided to have as priority number 1 when it came to advocacy and speaking, to have the United States as my priority number 1, because here is where the key to the change is, because of the massive Zionist and Zionist lobby support through the US governments to Israel and the occupation, to the Zionist part of the occupation. So I've been traveling to the US 2 to 3 times a year since 2009 on speaking tours. And I lecture at universities in solidarity groups, in the Palestinian groups, in NGOs, in churches, in mosques, all over. And I've been doing that since 2009. And of course, I have noted the massive shift. I've never, since 2009, seen such a strong movement in solidarity with the Palestinian people as I see now. Right now, here in Chicago.
Does that give you hope?
Of course. I mean, if we lose hope, we lose everything. And that's what the Palestinians teach me. And when they, I know that my presence in Shifa is not a game changer. They are extremely good. There are hundreds like Dr. Khalil. They know that they are the world experts in mass casualty handling and in handling a hospital without water, electricity, food, and whatever. They never give up. So what they say is that when you come, we don't feel alone. And that gives us hope that we are not alone, because we often feel forgotten by the world. And I'm sure that my 2 previous colleagues who have bravely gone to Gaza now in this last attack have also felt. And what is hope? Hope is what you do. Hope is what you do. And if all of us can do a little share of activity, of activism every day, we are the majority of the world's people. The Palestinian people have a massive support now internationally. We've never seen this wave of pro-Palestinian support anytime since 1948. It's at the level of the solidarity movement with the Vietnamese people, who by the way won, and they won, by the way, also by using the tunnels. That's another story. So I have noted a market change. Absolutely, I've been speaking at 3 different fundraisers here now for the PSSF, which is the Palestinian Student Scholarship Foundation, which is established and founded here in Illinois. And we have raised $2.3 million within 3 days here in Illinois, which have been granted from people who attended the fundraising dinners. And that's quite an amount. And all of that, 100% will go for scholarships for medical students who are stranded in Gaza or in Egypt, and who have got their education, interrupted because of the bombing of the university. So there is a massive movement now to support Palestinian students, to not have them have to break off or terminate their important studies. Because what is important to focus now, in addition to the macro understanding of the political situation, is the rebuilding of Gaza, is the rebuilding of Tulkarem, of Jenin. Because once we give up and only focus on today's misery, we won't see the future duties we have. And the duty is now to inspire people, artists, doctors, teachers, young people, to roll up our sleeves and say, we will participate in the rebuilding of Gaza under Palestinian sovereignty and Palestinian control. So yes, the answer to your question is a massive change, much more people supporting now. And I see billboards along the highways. I see the crowds, and I'm coming back twice before Christmas to the US to speak at different events. So it's an ongoing broad-based solidarity, and let's hope that the presidential election will also be an important stepstone for increasing the Palestinian solidarity movement. I think the Democrats needs to be pushed really hard, but I'm not interfering in internal American politics. But I see that the Congress, the convention for the Democrats, had large pro-Palestinian segments, and I think you are holding the key. So what you do is so important, and I appreciate your bravery, all of you who support Palestine in the United States.
Well, thank you, Doctor, and we would definitely have to have you here at the museum whenever you are in the area. If you're in New York or Boston or so, we're very close to that, and we will be in touch. In the meantime, I would like to share with you and everyone else some artwork from Dr. Khalil. This artwork will be exhibited at our upcoming exhibit, which will open on the 26th of September at the P21 Gallery in London. And everybody's invited to come there, including Dr. Mads, if you happen to be in England for some reason. And I'm going to share my screen with the time that's left here. We don't have a lot of time, but I'm going to share this here. This is a painting that Dr. Khalil made. Everybody can see this?
Yeah.
If you could read the QR code on your iPhones, if you have a second device that you can read it with. I can't read it on my computer here, but Krista, do you have a phone you can read?
Yes, I'll do it. And
do it, and when
1 second.
Put it on pause, so then we'll switch to you, and then we can show. When I first saw this, I said, "Oh, gee, this looks like it might have been done with artificial intelligence." But when Dr. Khalil gave me the QR code and I read it, it goes into a video when he was doing this. And what happened is he was talking about 911, that child, and he had taken some blood samples, a couple of vials of blood. And when the child passed away, he decided he doesn't want the blood to go to vein, and he used the blood to actually draw this angel, which he thought.
Oh my God, you're kidding!
So this on with the child's blood, and also there's another piece here that will be exhibited also, and she's a girl eating ice cream, and this ice cream has to do with the ice cream trucks that they were using at the hospitals to store the bodies of people because they didn't have enough space in their morgues, so they were using ice cream trucks that were refrigerated.
I'm posting the link to the video through the QR code in the chat, so if you click on it, you'll be able to see exactly what Faisal's talking about, the Instagram video.
Actually, I want to go into the chat and do it so I can show it to people. I can share it. Hold on 1 second. Let's get the chat. Which one did you click on?
I mean, I did the QR code and then I copied it and put it in the chat so that you have the link to the Instagram post that shows the blood vials. And
I'm not able to activate the link, but hold on. Let me see.
Do you want me to? I'll send it to you by text, and then you can
send
it. Do it that way.
Yeah, that's fine. But let me see if I can do it.
Here, I just texted it to you. Click on that instead.
Hold on.
And then you can bring it on you can share the screen.
All right. So, okay, I have it here. So let me stop sharing and share again. And this time I need to enable audio and video so people can see it. I think it's this. Oh, no, not that one. Oh, this one here. Okay, everybody can see it.
I just need to acknowledge the insanity of a world we live in where an artist has to imagine using the blood of a child for artwork. Like that's the world we live in, where in order to draw attention to the severity of this situation, the real insanity and inhumanity of it, it's really kind of almost beyond comprehension. And
I'm trying to not working.
Yeah.
You sent me is not.
Well, no. Okay. Let me look at it in Instagram, and you just open your Instagram. It's a reel from Khalil Khalidy. Just go to his Instagram page, and then you can play it that way.
Hold on a second.
Sorry, if you go right to his
send me a picture.
Instagram page.
Can you send me the link, the live link?
I mean, that's what I thought I did. I'll try again.
Okay.
Here, share to. I'm going to just share it to you again.
Okay.
And see if it's any different. But I also just go to his Instagram page, and then it's the second video in his Instagram page. So if you search his name,
I have
Khalil Khalidy.
I have it on Instagram. Just hold on a second. Hold on. All right, everybody, hang on. I think it's this one here. There, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. These are the blood vials.
I mean, through this work of art, this child will live forever through this painting and the horror of the conditions of having to die under these circumstances.
If people could know who this child is, or whose child it is.
And, you know, Dr. Khalil spoke to the fact that so many of the people they're finding, they don't even know who they are. And I know some of you have asked, will they later look in DNA analysis? Who knows? I mean, with so many thousands of people having been killed in you know, by Israeli airstrikes, and these mass graves and the scattering of bodies. And I'm sorry to be so graphic, but this is the reality on the ground, and children are experiencing this. So I think we need to have the courage to handle it, and to speak about it and to draw attention to it so we can stop it. So there you go. I mean,
you have to have
this is a surgeon who is also an artist. He's combining his commitment, his oath to saving lives with telling the Palestinian story through the literal blood of children who have lost their lives through these horrific events. So it's really,
to be able to use DNA, you have to have some relatives that you can compare DNA with to see if it's related to them, and it's somewhat difficult to do that without any surviving relatives, even with the DNA.
Yeah, whole family lines have been destroyed through this current cycle of horrific state violence. We really need to take that to heart.
This is the other painting here, but basically it's the same. You can see how these paintings were made. We'll go back to, okay. I think we have, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to restore contact with Dr. Khalil. However, we've had enough conversation with some of the other doctors and the colleagues of Dr. Khalil. And we will try to redo this session again in the near future so that Dr. Khalil could have a chance to tell us some more about what he was thinking and the story that he has. I want to thank everybody who joined us today, and thank you for your interest. And also thank the doctors who joined us also, Dr. Noor Amin, Dr. Hina Said, and most of all, Dr. Mads Gilbert. We really need to have you back and talk to us some more. We can never hear enough of what you had to say. We will be in touch, of course, offline. And thank you so much. I think we're out of time here, and we will wrap this up. And thank you, Krista, for co-hosting with me and for handling the questions and the dialogue here. And thanks to everyone who joined us from the various countries around the world. With a heavy heart, I wish you goodbye, and we say ma salama as we always do at the end.
And Faisal, some people asked about the recording. I'm assuming I had put in the chat that you'll be putting that on.
I will put it on our
the YouTube channel.
Museum.us. It'll be on by tomorrow morning. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye, everyone. Ma salam.